Okay, welcome to today's showcase. It is Monday. Should be anyway. There's no reason why this wouldn't go out later. Today we have a few different things going on. First thing you'll notice is that that man is indeed casting a fireball constantly, every 5 seconds, I think, actually. There is a reason for that, and it's actually a pretty cool reason. I think you guys will enjoy it. We do have some new assets today. We have a ton of new assets in general, actually. We have 3 new spells in total, I think, as well as 2 others that I have made work with some other assets we already had. So 3 new asset spells, and then 2 existing asset spells, I guess you could call it. One of those spells is implemented, one of the new asset spells that is, and one of the non-new assets, the existing asset spells, is also implemented, or at least I'll be showing it to you guys. So I'm pretty excited about both of those. It's going to be a little bit of a melee teaser for the existing asset spells, so that's going to be toward the end. Stick around if you want to see that. It's not as important to me right now as the other spells and the other stuff, so that's kind of got the back burner for right now. Hope you guys understand, but if you are interested, just skip to the end. I'll try to maybe put an annotation. I'm going to try. I'm not very good about the editing stuff, but we'll see. Anyway, just some notes. First of all, this thing is still here. It's I know it's probably a little bit annoying, but I just have it there so I can continue to test that at will. I would turn it off, but then I'll probably forget about it, so I want to make sure that I remember. I apologize if that bothers you guys, but without further ado, I'm gonna get into showing off today's showcase. So before I immediately show off what I'm going to do first, I will say beforehand that this is disableable, which is also to say that screen shake is possible to disable, I guess. Essentially, I want to make sure that you guys are comfortable with that. I know it makes kind of a lot of people experience that kind of vertigo sensation and everything, so if that's not really cool with you guys, 100% I'll make sure that it's disableable by launch. So it's not a big deal. I just want it to be an option for you guys if it's, an issue. Anyway, so what I'm talking about here is not actually a screen shake. It's something else that I've devised called a screen slide, and you'll see what I mean when I get hit here. So you can see that little springiness right there. I'm not sure if you guys will like that entirely, but I think it's a really cool effect that adds a lot to knockbacks, and this works in any direction, so no matter which direction it's moving, if it was moving in a non-cardinal direction, as in even semi-cardinal, as in the northeast, southwest, for instance, that would work as well. Even if it's not in those cardinal directions either, it would work as well. So any angle will work. It functions with... That guy's really going for me. If it's in any direction, it will work perfectly fine, which I think is particularly pretty cool. So it'll work in the future with whatever we decide. You'll see that these burns aren't doing damage. That's because this would instantly annihilate me otherwise. So don't worry about that. But I really like that springiness. I think it's kind of cool, and it adds a lot of depth to the knockback effect because you're not being knocked. I can't really make you get knocked back further just for effect. That kind of alters game balance, but I can have that effect, and I can get pinned against this rock to show you guys exactly. So you can see it kind of lurches forward suddenly and then slowly springs back into place. This scales with a knockback effect, so if you have a huge knockback, as in a positively massive knockback effect, then it will also have a positively maximum, or basically the highest possible screen slide or spring, whatever you want to call it, possible. So that's that. I think it looks really good, and it's using a easing function and everything that I've been excited to use with these different screen position offset things. And it's actually running in the screen render thing for the client, or screen render loop for the client, so there's really no tax for anything. It's just a cool effect, and it only happens during knockbacks. So, that's pretty cool. And I'm actually going to use this to show off the new spell as well. The new spell is called Ripping Shield, and this will lead me into a bug fix that I made as well. First up, you can no longer click them outside of the circle. So I can't, for instance, click down here. I have to click on this circle to actually pick that spell, if that makes sense. I can't click it down here. That was a very minor bug, I guess, but it was very annoying when you would try to click on, like, say, one of these icons down here, and it wouldn't let you because you were actually clicking on one of these instead. So that's very basic. It's not really that complicated. It just determines how far it is from the center. So basically, if it's too far, as in if it's off the radius from the circle center, that is, then it just won't let you click it. It's very straightforward in that sense. But anyway, we're gonna click here. So you'll notice that this is pretty complicated now. We have quite a few changes. I made this change up here in a code showcase that's going to be going out soon. I meant to release that this past weekend, but moving my sister into college was actually a lot more substantial than I thought it would be, so it couldn't happen immediately. But I am going to be posting that, I think, after today, sometime, probably Tuesday, Wednesday. But anyway, so you'll see some of that there. But down here, this isn't in that showcase. This is actually entirely separate. Instead, we have, well, first of all, you can see obviously that I've rearranged sound and lightning here, as well as the teleports leading into them, and the spell I'm looking to show off here is right here. So if I can grab this, Ripping Shield. You can read this too if you want. You can just pause it. But to put it in short, Ripping Shield is not a traditional shield. Ripping Shield is actually a kind of offensive defensive option, if that makes sense. And I'll go ahead and show you guys in a second, but just so you know what you're looking at, when you take damage from an attack of any sort, it returns a static amount of damage. So let's say I get hit by this fireball up here. I'm going to walk up, and once he casts it again, I'll go up here. This lasts for, I think, 6 seconds, so I'll cast it now. It's the animation. And you can see he takes a small 20 tick damage twice. I should probably space that damage out a little bit, just so it doesn't stack on itself like that. But he has managed to start damaging me. That's impressive. I don't know exactly how, because I'm pretty sure I disabled that, but whatever. It's not going to kill me with 40 damage, I don't think, or maybe it will. Okay, anyway. So that's pretty straightforward. I'm going to quickly give myself some reserves, so I don't accidentally die in the middle of this showcase to those fireballs. Hopefully that, yeah, okay. That'll bring me up pretty fast, and that'll actually outpace the burns as well. But anyway, so Ripping Shield is, like I said, sort of an offensive defensive option. Instead of being a traditional shield, you are actually just meant to oppose your opponent by making them not want to hit you, because right now it probably doesn't seem like it does that much damage, and that's because it really doesn't. But in the future, this is going to do a bleed as well, I think. It might just do more ticks of damage or more damage overall. But if I go ahead and stand here again, I really like this animation. This is from our new spell FX artist named Vin, and he actually worked with a bunch of the people on Duelist, and he has fantastic artwork. It's really, really nice, and I love the way it looks. So I'll be sure to put him in the Discord as soon as possible so you guys can harass him with love. But he makes really good artwork. I'm a huge fan of it, and this is only one of 3 spells that he's made for us, and this is quite possibly the least appealing in my opinion. The other 2 are fantastic, utterly fantastic, so I'm very excited to show those off, even though I can't today. But anyway, so that's the animation. I hope you guys enjoyed that. But besides that, it's just, as I said before, meant to be a sort of further zone control for you in wind. Like fire is pure DPS through dots, damage over time, and then you have water, which is kind of half healing, half damage, or rather healing through damage. And then you have earth, which is kind of half CC and then some damage as well. Whereas wind is meant to be a kind of zone control damage, where you have whirlwind. I'll go ahead and grab whirlwind just in case you guys forgot what it is. Let's quickly grab this. So whirlwind is this. It's it causes these tornadoes to whip around you, and if it can stop hitting me real quick, they do a moderate amount of damage, and then they disappear obviously all at the same time. That is one change I think I forgot to mention last time, but not a huge change regardless. Anyway, it's kind of a zoning thing, because you also have Dust Devil, and I think that you guys remember Dust Devil. It's just a tornado that circles around you. You have all of these abilities that kind of prevent enemies from getting close to you, but unlike the other trees, you don't have a utility that helps you with CC or with damage. Like Earth, for instance, has a high DR ability. Essence and Fire and Water all have a CC cleanse of some sort or CC immunity. You don't have that. You just have a speed boost, and that slows you too. So I want you to have some sort of ability that prevents people from just jumping on you and face tanking everything you have and killing you, and that's what Ripping Shield is. So the more ticks of damage they do, for the record, the more damage they take. So for instance, if they did 1,000 damage instead of 300, they would take a substantial more number of ticks, which is the idea, that you're not doing more damage depending on how much they do, you're just doing more ticks, which I think, in my opinion, is a little bit more fitting for the wind aesthetic, which is a lot of fast, rapid-paced ticks and everything. So that's cool. I'm very excited about that, and I think I am ready to show off the other spell as well. Let me go change something real quick. We're going to want to change this Sorry about this, I can't tie two spells to my spacebar at the same time, but we're going to be looking over the Mele Spell. I know I said this would be at the end, but I'm so hyped to show this off because I think it's really cool, and I think that it also makes use of great use of the existing spells, rather existing swords. And this is going to be a bit of a teaser specifically for melee spells themselves, not just the weapons. And the reason I say that is because this is going to be one of the ultimate spells, or rather cornerstone spells. So I don't know if you guys have heard about the melee spells. I'll show this off in a second, but the way these are going to work is instead of having them just be melee spells, we're going to call them weapon specialties or something along those lines. And we're going to have a bow, a spear, and a sword. Those are the ones that everyone has voted for so far, and I don't think that anyone's going to beat them in that. So those three are the ones we're going to roll with. And I mean, if one suddenly jumps up, that's fine. But they're each going to get 3 spells in their own weapon specialist tree. So right now, this spell tree here, this is what I'm going to call the elementalist tree. So you have these 5 elements, and then we're going to have a secondary tree, probably accessible through a tab up here or something like that. And when you click on that tab, it'll take you to the weapon specialist tree. And if you have that weapon equipped, you can use those spells as long as you've purchased them. So instead of, say, investing down here in wind, you could maybe invest into whirlwind and then ripping shield and then graceful step, and you would use graceful step to run up to your enemy, but you might not want to use whirlwind because you don't have that affinity, and instead you use the first 2 spells of the sword branch as your bread and butter damage, and then the cornerstone is going to be your sort of playmaking spell, and that's going to be the big spell that people fear of that specific branch of whatever weapon specialty it is. So for swords, we do have the spear one made. That is one of the new assets that I can't show off yet because it's not programmed. But we do have the sword one, and then the bow one is not made yet, but sometime soon it'll be made. And if I go ahead and click this shortly, you guys can see. So this is Executioner's Ring, and the tick's bugged out there, but you can see it does a small amount of, or not small, but decent chunk of damage per sword. You might say that this is a little bit overpowered. Like at first glance, it does seem like it does a lot of damage, and it kind of seems hard to avoid. But I assure you that when they start moving, even though they do spawn them in the circle still, it is a lot easier to avoid. And getting hit by 3 or 4 of them does not hurt as much as getting hit by all 12. So just stuff to keep in mind, or all 10, sorry. But anyway, one thing I wanted to mention here is previously, this has no cooldown for the record because it's attached to my spacebar and not on my hotbar. But one thing I wanted to mention was previously I was having a ton of issues with lag with a pooling system. It turns out that there was just a recursive loop going on that was very abstract and random in a very awkward place. So that has been fixed. So now I can spawn as many of these as I want, and it's not going to cause all of them to stutter. It might cause some slight FPS drops maybe, but as you can see up in the top left, we are still sitting comfortably at around 60. We're hovering there, like I said, comfortably, and now he's dead. So really, we've succeeded. But I'm gonna quickly alter this spell too because I want to show you guys. I want to show off the new projectile system basically. So I'm gonna make this 12 swords into 120 swords instead, and you're gonna get to see what I call. I don't know. It doesn't really have a name. It just looks really cool, in my opinion. We're gonna hit space, and you get to watch as the Ring of Swords just unleashes on this poor fellow down here. This is not exactly anything super special, but it's meant to show off the new projectile system and how efficient it is. So this is spawning, I believe, I want to say 8, not 8 per second, more like 4 per second. And as it spawns 4 per second, it's also firing them, deleting them, all this other stuff. So it's spawning, deleting 4 projectiles per second in a complicated fashion in a circle around the target, spinning them, doing all these different calculations for the scale, transitions for the scale, and we have not dropped a single frame per second. Those little variations are just variations. So that's awesome. That's so cool for me because being able to just hit spacebar and then watch them not have lag whatsoever, and it's not doing damage because he's KO'd and doesn't have any HP, but just watching this happen, and again, these swords flying off here are they do stutter a little bit after like the 60 mark, and the reason for this is because we have an array storing literally 120 swords, so it's storing all of them at once. Realistically, we're not going to have 120 swords in a array, but if we do in the future, that's optimizable. It just has to start deleting them in the middle of the array. so not really that big of a deal. But anyway, I think that's really cool. Frankly, I really am excited about that. And as much as I would like to add like a but to this, like a but if we spawn too many, it lags. I really have not been able to make it lag without literally mashing hundreds upon hundreds of projectiles per second. So that's that. I mean, it is really exciting in my opinion. I'm a huge fan of that, and I'm really excited to see that it's working. Again, I'm going to quickly drop into the code real quick and make it so that you guys can see what happens when I get hit by it, or rather when I get hit by it while running, because I do want to make note of the fact that it does properly track your position. So it's not just a static circle, and it's not just these static 12 or 10 swords that circle you and then it's going to hit me in a second, but it's not just a static circle, it's actually something that tracks your movement. So I'm going to go ahead and get hit by these. Again, the damage sticks are a little bit weird, but when I get hit again, you can see it actually kind of curves around. It forms this actual like golden ratio curve. It's a little bit weird, but anyway, like you can see, it's kind of difficult to get hit by them, or at least by a lot of them, because as soon as you walk towards the outer angles, it immediately starts, missing. So at best you get hit by 200, or rather 2 of them, so 100 per. But I still think that's really cool. I think that it's neat that it follows you. I think it's neat that they track your positions, and more than that, I also think it's really neat that it actually follows in that curve as well. It's just an emergent property of using trigonometry, of course, but I still think it's really neat to watch. And I'm currently not dying because I'm not vulnerable to damage yet. I haven't actually set my level, so I have an infinite number of HP. I should, at least. And otherwise I would have died. But anyway, I think this is going to be a really cool spell. A lot of the melee spells, I want to feel like they're these skill shots. I want to make you feel like you're actually using like a nimble sword that you have to make the most use of. So this spell is obviously going to be super, super valuable with a stun or a root. You'll be able to land this right after that, and it'll be very obviously intense, watching them just get barraged by 10 swords all at once. So I'm super excited about that. I think it looks really cool. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that as well. But for right now, I think I'm gonna stop this man from killing me a million times over. That is, I think, everything. There was something else I wanted to show, but I decided not to. I had it so that it would add a knockback effect to the each hit of the it would have a knockback effect on each of the swords. So instead of it just being this swords flying through you and stabbing you, it would actually have a kind of thunk effect on your screen, where your entire screen would be lurched toward the direction of the sword, in the direction it was going, I should say. But it didn't look that great to me, especially because there are so many hitting you all at the same time, so it kind of jerks you around. But I mean, I don't know. If you guys like the sound of that, feel free to let me know. I just don't think it would have worked that well. So anyway, like I said at the beginning of this video, I did record a code showcase, so that'll probably be going up tomorrow or the next day. Again, there's no real schedule for those. Those just kind of go up when I feel like they're necessary, or when I have a spare one to go, or free one to go, I guess. Yeah, there's no reason why I wouldn't. So you can expect that. Other than that, I think that we're good. I might try to edit this one. I'm not entirely sure. If I did, you'll obviously know. But if I didn't, you'll also probably know. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys look forward to the next one. Have a good day. Bye.